Good evening, everyone. Good evening to, and welcome to the People's House. And also good evening to Manager Page, who just read the agenda. But I would like to call this meeting, call this meeting to order at 7 p.m. And if we will, please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Right, I'll pass it over to Councilmember Freeman for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. It's our practice to stand to salute the flag and say the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, if you will, please call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mayor Williams?
I'm here.
Mayor Pro Tem Middleton?
I'm here.
Councilmember Baker?
Here.
Councilmember Caballero?
Here.
Councilmember Cooke?
Here.
Councilmember Freeman?
Present.
Councilmember Rist?
Here.
Thank you.
Right, we'll now have a proclamation read by Mayor Pro Tem. Derek, could you approach the dais?
My thanks to His Honor and to my honorable colleagues, to all in chamber and those watching on whatever platform you may be watching this evening. Good evening, and thank you for being with us tonight. Mayor Williams, I am profoundly grateful to you for allowing this proclamation to go forward tonight. Very special proclamation. I want to open this way. I was born by the river in a little tent. Oh, and just like the river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. I had thought about singing it.
We did too.
Yeah. But then I thought better of it. Those are beautiful words, and you should know that those words were first written down in Durham. Durham inspires great art. Now tonight, I am so proud and honored to read a proclamation on behalf of my fellow colleagues in the city of Durham to honor the life of Sam Cooke and to honor the iconic place of this song, this iconic, timeless song, A Change Is Gonna Come, in American musicology, and particularly in this pantheon of the civil rights movement. I'm gonna call some special folk up to stand with me as I read this proclamation, and I want to honor them because they each have a place in this story, in the evolution of us getting here tonight, and they each play an important role in our community here in Durham. Firstly, I want to call up my friend Angela Lee, who's the Executive Director of the Hayti Heritage Center, to come stand with me. I'm also going to invite the Associate Dean of Clinical Education at North Carolina Central University Law School, Nakia Davis. I'd like to invite up two special scholars and students. Firstly, the president, 2L class president of NCCU Law School, Levi Wiggins, and the 2L class vice president at NCCU Law School, Ruth Montilla. And someone who's got to have one of the coolest jobs in the world, the owner of Carolina Soul Records, Jason Perlmutter, is with us. And you could say kind of the animating spirit of all of this, Attorney Ian Mance, Senior Counsel for Emancipate North Carolina. Come on up. Let's give them all a hand as they stand. You'll understand the importance of each of the organizations and interests they represent as I read the proclamation. I'll get right to it. Proclamation. Whereas December 11th, 2024 marks 60 years since the death of the legendary soul singer Sam Cooke. And December 22nd, 2024 60 years since the release of his single, A Change Is Gonna Come. And whereas Rolling Stone magazine and other music publications have recognized A Change Is Gonna Come as among the greatest and most significant songs ever written. And the Library of Congress in March 2007 inducted the song into the National Recording Registry pursuant to the National Recording Preservation Act of 2000. And whereas Sam Cooke wrote the first iteration of the lyrics to A Change Is Gonna Come while in Durham, North Carolina in May 1963, after speaking to sit-in protesters who were students at North Carolina Central University. And the liner notes to Cooke's Portrait of a Legend, 1951 through 1964, likewise acknowledged the song's connection to Durham. And whereas the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X, among others, encouraged Sam Cooke to explore social issues in his music and to deepen his involvement with the movement. And whereas Cooke encountered Dr. King in Atlanta months after a visit to Durham and committed the use of the composition and recording of the song that became A Change Is Gonna Come to an album to benefit the Southern Coalition Leadership Conference. And whereas in the 60 years since its release, the song has developed into a symbol of tribute, performed by the likes of Aretha Franklin and Patti LaBelle to honor civil rights luminaries, Nobel laureates, and other figures of historic significance like Nelson Mandela upon their passing. And whereas the city of Durham is grateful to the North Carolina College at Durham, North Carolina Central University students, and their supporters who, in the face of significant risk, courageously staged demonstrations in 1963, which ultimately led to the emergence of a more just and equitable city. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the city of Durham expresses appreciation for the significant contribution Sam Cooke made in his lifetime to popular music, the arts, and the American Civil Rights Movement. Be it further resolved that on this, the 60th anniversary of the month of his death, and the release of his single, A Change Is Gonna Come, the city of Durham remembers and honors Sam Cooke, as well as the Durham students whose bravery inspired him. Witness my hand and the corporate seal of the city of Durham, North Carolina, this, the 22nd day of November, 2024, Leonardo Williams, Mayor.
I didn't know I was going to be speaking. I just want to extend my thanks to the council and to Mayor Williams for recognizing this anniversary. I've received a number of messages and phone calls and emails from people across Durham and people with ties to Durham this week who've reached out just to say how much this means to them and that this is a source of civic pride and to express their appreciation for this recognition.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all so much on behalf of Dean Patricia Timmons-Goodson. It is truly an honor. We are so thankful that we reside in a city that does not forget. So we appreciate this. We appreciate you not only recognizing the song, but the anthem of justice. And it is our hope that we will continue to be a beacon of light for justice, not only for the county, not only for the city, but for the state and the nation. So once again, thank you very much.
Just reiterating what was previously stated, we're just appreciative of this proclamation and the ability to be here and be representatives from North Carolina Central School of Law. Thank you.
On behalf of Carolina Soul Records in Durham, I'm thankful for this opportunity to be a part of this lineage and this history, and we are proud to connect people with soul music. Thank you.
Your homework is to go home tonight, Durham, and crank this thing up past 10. You should be able to find it on YouTube. Thank you so much.
At this time, I would like to call up our Director of Communications, Ms. Beverly Thompson.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, and staff. Usually coming before you is a treat, but tonight, I must admit, it's bittersweet. I've known Wanda personally since our college days, and I was overjoyed when I found out that this brilliant and compassionate leader would be our city manager. Tonight, though we are saying goodbye, well, almost. We in the communications department know that a picture is worth 1,000 words. We've put some pictures in a short video that shows just a few scenes of Wanda's time serving the residents of the city of Durham. Wanda, we want you to know that we wish you well as you turn the page into a new chapter in your life. There's more to come, but we hope you enjoyed that look back. We love you and we'll miss you.
I'd actually like the council to join me down here, please, as well as Madam Manager on the page. Derek, you might have to give me some tissue. This is going to be the happiest and hardest proclamation I've ever read. before I read this, yeah, let's bring that up some. So this job is not easy. I say that often. Yeah, let it go down some. Yeah, this job is not easy at all. And me personally, I don't come from a political dynasty or a family that's been in this forever. You know, it was like I was a dude that had a situation, and I was like, what is going on? I need to do something, and ran for office. But I had no idea what to expect. And I came in with some of these folks here, and there were some others that were up here, and I started to learn a lot. But while they were great colleagues, peers, mentors on the council, there was one person that I could go to and be extremely vulnerable with. And she would always say, well, you know, Mayor, you the boss. But when we closed that door, she's the real boss because she is such a wealth of information. This is a walking encyclopedia here. It's just so wise. And I could not remember a single time that I asked a question and could not get an answer to. And so I've been trying to put this off as long as possible. I've been trying to put it off as long as possible. I first got word, I think I was one of the first people to know when she was going to retire, and I had to very uncomfortably keep that to myself. And during my State of the City, there was so much more in that recognition than the crowd actually knew. Because there was something just between us where I knew that she was going to be calling it, you know, to an end at some point in the very near future. And I just wanted to make sure I gave her flowers at that moment. And then we're going to do it again tonight. But there is no one more fitting that can receive the words that I'm about to read off of this document, which symbolizes the highest honor possible that could be received from the city of Durham. So, this proclamation is for Mrs. Wanda Sims Page. Whereas Mrs. Wanda Sims Page has served as city manager of the city of Durham for the past 4 years and devoted 37 years serving the residents of Durham. And whereas Mrs. Page has shared her vast experience and knowledge of business administration, serving as the chief executive officer of the city of Durham, and held a number of positions with the city of Durham, including staff, senior accountant, accounting services manager, deputy finance director, controller, audit services director, and deputy city manager. And whereas, as cum laude graduate, Mrs. Page earned her MBA with an emphasis on finance from North Carolina Central University and BS in Business Administration and Management from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, Keenan Flagler Business School, and is a certified public accountant, a certified internal auditor, a chartered global management accountant, and an ICMA credentialed manager. That's decorated. And whereas she served in numerous volunteer roles, including over 10 years of service on the Masters of Public Administration Advisory Board for NCCU, the Board of Visitors at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and the Lincoln Community Health Center Foundation in various capacities, chair of the NCCU Real Estate Foundation Board, the Durham Homeless Services Advisory Committee, and holds various positions at her church, White Rock Baptist Church. Whereas she has held memberships in the International City and County Management Association, North Carolina City and County Management Association, Government Finance Officers Association, the American Institute of CPAs, North Carolina Association of CPAs, the Institute of Internal Auditors, the North Carolina City and County Management Association, Durham Rotary, Made in Durham Incorporated, Community Health and Advisory Board, and whereas, as city manager, Mrs. Page has maintained a strong commitment to and passion for Durham's people and neighborhoods, emphasizing racial and economic equity in a city of more than 275,000 residents. She has served Durham during a period in the city governments where she served during a period in Durham city government when there have been more Black women in leadership positions than ever before, and was herself the second female city manager in Durham's history. And whereas Mrs. Page has provided invaluable leadership and guidance on many significant projects and challenges the city has faced during her tenure, including guiding our city government through a malware security incident, the COVID-19 pandemic, a recovery by helping the city maintain stability with long-term revenue and expenditure planning, and leading the development of projects for a $200 million infrastructure bond, which was approved by the residents of Durham in November 2024. And whereas Mrs. Page's defining focus has been building cooperative relationships with Durham County, the Greater Durham Chamber of Commerce, and other local regional institutions, promoting customer service and a business-friendly environment. And whereas Mrs. Page, a recipient of the Order of the Longleaf Pine, one of the state's highest honors for her contributions to our city and state, has chosen to retire on December 31st, 2024, from her role as city manager to spend more time with her beloved husband, Craig, her children, William and Kelly, and her dad and sister. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Leonardo Williams, Mayor of the City of Durham, do hereby express my sincere appreciation and gratitude for Mrs. Page's dedication to our community and congratulate her on her retirement from the City of Durham and wish her the best in her future endeavors. Witness my hand in the corporate seal of the City of Durham, North Carolina, the 16th day of December, 2024. William Kelly, come on.
I don't know what to say, except thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, members of the Durham City Council, all you residents that have helped us as an organization continue to build this community into a community that we all love and that we take care of, and we want to continue to go on that trajectory. I am lost for words this evening. I wanted to, during the priority items, say a few words, as this is my last city council meeting, but I can't remember any of them right now. But I am just so happy to have a portion of my family here, my son and my daughter and my sister, Kim, as has been mentioned in this proclamation, and this key to the city. I have a key to the city. It started out as a real key, and now it's a magnet, but I would happily exchange those keys for this very special key that has been presented to me this evening. I think I need to sit down.
Thank you all so much. let's give it to your family because you all gonna take this home. All right. Some of y'all know there are certain things to make me a crybaby, and good people is just one of them. I've never had to fight back tears so hard because this woman she's amazing. And I don't think folks will ever fully appreciate how well she's run this city. We have survived a lot because of you, Manager Page. So thank you. I'm going to stop talking about you so I can make it through this agenda. And since I have the prerogative as mayor, I'm going to go out of order and make you the last priority item because I'm going to hold on to you as long as I can. So, Madam Clerk, do we have any priority items tonight? I'm sorry. I skipped announcements, so let me go back to that. Announcements by council. Councilmember Cooke.
All right. Well, that's a hard act to follow. Yes, I just want to echo what everyone has said about how excellent of a manager. As a new council member, I don't think we could have asked for anything better. We had, as the mayor said, every question we ever needed answered. Super responsive and just a joy to work with. So thank you, and thank you to the staff who prepared that lovely presentation. And I'm gonna forgive y'all for not giving me the green jacket memo because that presentation was so good. Okay, so I wanna say thank you and good evening to everyone that's here. We've got a pretty good crowd in the audience, everyone watching at home, folks that will watch later. I have one special person. No, she left. Okay, well, my very dearest friend from Juneau, Alaska was here for that whole presentation, and she has just walked out the door. I think they had dinner reservations. So I wanted to shout out Sierra Ginter for coming to my council meeting, just as a little point of personal privilege. Oh, there she is. Thank you for coming. She heard me on the speaker outside. Okay. Yes, somehow my partner convinced her that that would be a good way for her to spend her limited nights in Durham was to come to a Durham City Council meeting, and so here she is. So I'd also be remiss if I didn't at least mention the state level goings on. As many of you, I'm sure, already know, the North Carolina legislators overrode the governor's veto to enact Senate Bill 382 just days before many of their terms were set to end, having been not elected to their seats. They used the guise of hurricane relief to strip power both from local governments and from individual voters. I'm sure we're going to see a lot more communication and narrative around this moving forward, but I just wanted to mention it because it is so serious and it has made national news. And of course, we don't have power to influence the state as your local government, but those things impact us, and also they impact our residents, and so they are very important, and I just wanted to acknowledge that. And my final announcement is just another token of thanks. I had the opportunity last week to ride along with a heart team. And so I wanted to shout out, and I think they might be watching, Delquan and Emma were my folks that took me along in the van, and then our shift supervisor, Alexis, who we were able to check in with afterwards. And I also got to talk and meet with lots of folks in the office at Hart, and it was, everyone I interacted with was just such a joy. And yeah, it's just very humbling because I work with people who are in trauma and who are unstably housed quite often, and I sometimes am sort of forced to don a pretend social worker hat, even though I have no training in that area. And it was so great to see the folks who actually are experts doing that service for the community. And everyone, I think, at this point in time and knows how incredible this pilot program has been in Durham. And it was just so amazing getting to watch, and so informative getting to watch them interact with real community members with a lot of care and compassion. We did end up transporting one of our unhoused neighbors to a white flag shelter, and I did want to just put out a plug for that. So as the temperatures drop below 32 degrees, or if they drop below 37 and there's precipitation, we do have extra shelters that open up for the evenings in Durham. And that location has actually moved to Yates Baptist Church, and it is open intake, I believe, from 7 to 8:30. If you or know a neighbor that is in need, you can call Entry Point to get in, and I'm just going to read that number out for everyone. It is 984-287-8313. And again, that shelter, in addition to the shelters that are already in existence, but for extra cold nights for folks who might not otherwise have that shelter. So I have had a lot of clients who have visited white flag shelters, and it was really great to be able to see them in action. So I want to also shout out to Open Table Ministries, who's been running our white flag shelters, for showing us around and sort of helping me understand how the check-in actually works and the real sort of process of getting folks in and seeing where they are able to spend those cold evenings. So again, thank you to Hart, and those are all my announcements. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Baker.
Thank you, Councilmember, for speaking to those issues and for speaking to SB 382, the sham Hurricane Helene bill at the state level that overrode Governor Cooper's veto and disempowered many incoming Democrats that were elected by the people of the state of North Carolina. It also tampered with other aspects of state and local government, including zoning, planning, and development powers at the local level in every single municipality across the entire state, which complicates some of the work that we're doing here in small area planning, as well as the comprehensive rewrite of our Unified Development Ordinance. And I think that one thing that we need to consider following some of these provisions that were placed in there, hopefully some of them can change back. I wouldn't necessarily count on it. We can hope for that and do the work to get that done. We need to be very careful because some of these provisions limit what local government can do around what's called downzoning. We need to be very careful about, through our UDO rewrite, upzoning and make sure that we are not upzoning large swaths of our city for free without ensuring that there are adequate provisions for public goods. So that's something that needs to be a lesson for us as we consider the ramifications of SB 382. The last thing I want to say is just with the closeout of 2024, I just want to say thank you to all of Durham's workers. We have 3 direct hires. The city council has 3 direct hires. And I want to thank all three of you for the hard work that you do and that your staffs do. And City Manager Page, I'll have more for you on Thursday. And I want to thank all of the workers in our city who make our city run and who keep our community running. Solid waste workers, transportation, public works, every single department, every single worker across our city that is doing all of the work to keep our city running, all of the workers across our city who create and add value. Thank you for all that you do. At least in this economy right now, you have a choice of where you work, and for those who are working for the city of Durham, there are some great benefits, but you're also making a choice to work for a great organization. So thank you for that, and that's it for me.
Thank you. Councilmember Capioto.
Thank you. First off, Manager Page, I'll say more on Thursday. I'm just glad we got to celebrate you today as well. First off, I want to shout out Durham and everyone at Durham Parks and Rec and other departments for the amazing parade on Saturday. We couldn't have gotten better weather. I think it was the longest parade to date with a lot of different floats. Everybody seemed really, really happy. It's one of my favorite days in Durham. It reflects our community broadly. And I also want to shout out Discover Durham because I know that they were also supporting Parks and Rec. And I think it's also a moment for us to kind of show off our toys. We got to see water management, solid waste, fire engines. We got to see our animal support, our emotional support dog marching with the police. So it's just an opportunity to really celebrate a really special community. And I think as we turn into 2025, when there are going to be lots of changes both at the state and federal level, and there's a lot of anxiety, I think we can all say that Durham is the best city in the U.S. and a beacon of hope for many across the Southeast. We consistently stand up for our values, and I'm proud of all of my colleagues and all the city workers who make and move that vision forward. So I hope everyone has a restful holiday season as we turn to winter solstice and Christmas and Hanukkah and Kwanzaa. And I hope you all have a wonderful 2025, which does sound a little bit like a sci-fi movie. Thank you.
Councilmember Freeman.
Thank you. I'll echo my colleagues and appreciate the activist push around some of those issues. And I also just want to make sure that I uplift our city manager in this last city council meeting. I'm looking forward to continuing along. I'm not even going to touch it because then it's going to jinx it. But anyway, I did want to say a special thank you to the water management staff for a thorough half tour of a few locations. I tried to write them all down, but I'm not going to try and say them all. But I know I got to Little River, Williams, Brown, and North, and still have a number of others. And I got to 2 of the 63 lift stations. So, it's been a long time, and because of Councilmember Cooke, getting it started, I went over and got my new water bottle, and it's a great tour. I'm just kidding. But I do want to say it was a great holiday parade, and I want to congratulate our 38-year seasoned veteran, city employee, and our very own Grand Marshal, City Manager Wanda Page, for leading us off. And I want to thank all of those in attendance for keeping us safe, and appreciate everyone that participated as well. I did want to also know, I did catch a couple of names. I want to thank Don Greenlee's team for guiding me through with Tom Lucas, Kenny Lillard, George Kepik, Dirk, Brian, and I missed a number of you. Please charge it to my head and not my heart. I also want to share a warm season's greetings to everyone and say Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy end of the year, and if you don't celebrate, then just happy break. Do whatever you want to do. For my colleagues, I did want to just note I shared another sweet treat from the Singing Rooster like I did for the last few years, just acknowledging that each bar of candy actually plants a tree in Haiti. And I think it's critically important for us not to lose sight of those who are critically suffering in these times, and make sure that we do what we can to support ourselves here locally, shopping locally, and trying to recycle as much as we can back into our community. I want to thank all of our small businesses that are serving and continue to encourage folks to get out there in the Bull City and do what we do best, support one another. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Brisk.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Madam City Manager, so much to say. We'll say more on Thursday, but it was a wonderful celebration. Of course, we're the closest in age on the council, so we share a special bond. You know that, yeah. So we'll say more on Thursday. Colleagues, Mayor Pro Tem, staff, residents, those online, good evening. It's been a wonderful holiday season so far in the Bull City, and I send my best holiday greetings to all. It's been a blast this year being part of so many holiday events. I want to give a special shout out to the DPR staff. Anybody from DPR here tonight? They've been working so hard for organizing the annual senior holiday lunch or party. I had no idea what that was all about. They filled the Sheridan Imperial, folks who were so dressed up, so ready to go. It was such a fun party. So thanks DPR for organizing that. My wife and I thoroughly enjoyed the winter Pops concert at the Armory, so thanks to the Durham Symphony. And of course, thanks to DPR again for organizing last weekend's annual Christmas parade or holiday parade. In addition to all the kudos, shout out to the Grand Marshal of the parade, the holiday parade. So that was awesome to see you there in that fancy car. And thanks to all the residents that came out on a chilly Saturday. It was such a fun event. A couple of transportation items I want to mention. First is that, as you all know, building more transit options in the Triangle remains a key strategy in improving mobility and in making our region more environmentally sustainable. A lot of the conversation here on the council lately has been about sidewalks, bike paths, bus rapid transit. But I want you to know that our MPO, that's our Regional Metropolitan Planning Organization, has not forgotten about rail. We obviously had a very public failure with rail several years ago with light rail, but the conversations with the rail are not dead. And in fact, BRT could do a lot of things, but BRT is not designed to get you from here to Raleigh, right? So we need rail. We need a rail spine in this region to connect these, like Durham, Raleigh, Cary, and to be then a spine that all the other mobility or other modes can link into, like bus rapid transit. So conversations are continuing at the MPO. We had a key meeting just last week with our partners at CAMPA, which is the Capital Area MPO, about a regional vision for rail. So stay tuned for more on that, but rail is not dead. We're still in the conversation. So it's an important part of our mobility and transportation in the Triangle. Second, it was great to be part of the groundbreaking. Are folks from transportation here? Nobody's from transportation here tonight. Oh, they're listening. Good, they're listening, yeah. Great groundbreaking last Monday for the improvements to Durham Station, which is a key part of our transit network. Thanks to city transportation staff, to Durham County and Go Triangle for that. And finally, I was like a kid in a candy store today. I got to join the fire chief, and his team, along with fleet management and general services, to have to check out the next generation of EV fire engines that are now coming online. Really cool stuff. And they were in town today for a demo. We're sorry to miss you there, Deputy City Manager Ferguson. Great demo. Our experts are checking this out because, having an EV fire engine is one way to meet our city's goals for our climate action plan, which involves not only buildings but our fleet, right? It's also a way to create a cleaner environment for those who are fighting fires in our city. So exciting stuff. Stay tuned for more on that. The last thing is, for those of you that don't know, I'm a big fan of credit unions. And full disclosure, I'm on the board of the Self-Help Federal Credit Union. Credit unions are member-owned financial institutions that provide benefits for their members in terms of affordable lending products and in terms of affordable checking and savings deposits. Today, the mayor and I were on hand at the new Civic Federal Credit Union, which is the former local government's federal credit union. It's been rebranded as Civic Credit Union. They were on hand to open their 11th branch in the state. Civic Credit Union has over $4 billion in assets, over 400,000 members across the state. I'm sure many city employees are members of now Civic Credit Union. They just opened a branch on Rigsby Avenue, so those affordable financial services that are reliable are now even more accessible to our city staff. So stay tuned for more from Civic Credit Union, a great new part of our network of credit unions in Durham that's a model for providing, again, affordable, reliable financial products. So that's it, Mr. Mayor. I yield back.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and let me thank you for that wonderful presentation to our city manager. I want to associate myself with all the comments and observations that my colleagues have made. But I want to say to you, Madam Manager, I plan on being at the meeting Thursday, and I feel pretty strong about my chances, but as of now, Thursday is conceptual. So I want to, in the presence of your family tonight, which is a certainty right now is what we have, say to you, thank you seems so inadequate. You have one of those kind of jobs that everybody thinks they can do it until they have it. And I want to thank you for the dignity and grace that you've brought to it. Dr. King said that the ultimate measure, he said man, but the ultimate measure of a person is not where they stand in times of comfort and convenience, but rather in times of challenge and controversy. And I have watched you in challenge and controversy bring a dignity and a grace and a character and a truthfulness, even when folk didn't want to hear it, to those situations. And I thank you. And I just want to say finally, beloved, to you and to your family, may God bless and keep you. May God prosper you and increase you. And may God extend your days and fill them with a peace that passes all understanding and a joy that confounds the darkness. Thank you. Happy holidays. God bless you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You're back.
Thank you, and thank you for those beautiful words, Mayor Pro Tem. Colleagues have shared much of what I was going to talk about. I'm really excited about the groundbreaking we did for the expansion of our Durham station. We had a wonderful parade. I was representing us in California, and I got back Saturday morning, came to the parade, left the parade, went back to the airport, and was able to represent our city at the White House. The last hurrah. And it was beautiful. President Biden gives his regards to Durham. We were able to speak briefly. Governor Walz as well said, select words, but dang it, I wanted to come back to Durham. And I said, well, you're always welcome, Governor. You're always welcome. It was a great time, and being amongst a few other Durhamites that were there. Yeah, this is a beautiful nation. It is what we make it. And that beautiful is defined by all of our messiness and all of our imperfections. And, but beautiful is the outcome. And I don't want us to lose sight of that, despite what the results of an election is. We are who we are, and we are what we make it to be. And we just need to put our effort in the space that we can impact the most. And that's what I plan to do. I really appreciate seeing the smiles on the kids' faces at the parade. You just see the best in Durham. You really do. You see folks that are, it's thousands of people, and everyone is like, just of all the things we talk about, protest about, fight about, celebrate, whatever, that is the moment where we all come together, all smiling and waving at one another in the greatest spirit of hospitality. So that's one of my favorite times of the year in this city, and I hope that we can have more celebratory moments that we are coming together. I saw this same energy at the Christmas tree lighting, where we had, again, thousands of people downtown just out shopping and enjoying music and food. And I know we get caught up in the politics of Durham sometimes, but those moments remind us that we really do have it good. We really do. And I hope that we could just have more of those moments together. Madam Manager, I'm never, ever going to have the words to fully describe how I feel about you just as a human and what you've done for this community. For the folks out there, we all meet one-on-one with the manager. But we come and go. We come and go. We are electeds. We run, we win. Sometimes we run and we lose. Sometimes we just step away. But you may see us as the face of this organization, but there's a foundation, there's a core, an infrastructure that you don't necessarily always see. And I brag about this all the time, that there are over 30,000 cities and towns in America. We are the number 6th, single digit, 6th best run city in America. It is hard to get any better than that. And y'all have seen, sometimes as councils, we can act a fool up here. And no matter who's up here and how crazy we're behaving, this person does not break. She does not. She is calm, cool, and collected through it all. You do not know whether it is storming outside or whether it's sun and shining outside. That is the strength. This city is strong. This is the muscle right here. So I appreciate you more than you ever would know. And I still will be calling on you and finding excuses to bring you back into City Hall. And I'll see y'all at brunch on some Saturdays and Sundays. And I hope you'll go on the golf course somewhere and just relax. I'll give you 6 months off before you come back here, but I'll give you about 6 days before I call you. But I really appreciate you. Yeah, I wish thank you was sufficient. With that being said, now I will go to Madam Clerk for any priority items.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did want to express my appreciation for the city manager as well. She's been a guide and very steadfast, and she's always been there when I've needed a confidant. And I think that the city has been successful because we've had steadfast leaders, and she's been here for 37 years. That's a long time period, and she's been here through the development of the city, and so it's been just wonderful to work with someone with so much knowledge, and you'll be missed. And good luck in your next chapter. And no priority items.
Thank you. I'll now pass it over to Madam Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem and members of the council, the City Attorney's Office likewise has no priority items tonight, but I would also like to take a point of personal privilege to salute my colleague and dear friend. When I came to the City of Durham in April 2005 as a younger attorney with much fuller hair, Madam Manager was then, I think, an assistant city manager and oversaw many of the internally facing departments in the city, including human resources. And I was the legal advisor for human resources when I first came, and she was an incredible resource then. We had a lot of fun working on some thorny issues back in the day and over the years, but you have always been a fair, measured, consummate professional, Wanda. You are a model and a beacon to all of the employees in this organization, but particularly the women who are aspiring to attain your level of leadership. I thank you for that. I thank you for your grace and your composure and your counsel and your encouragement to me personally. And I'm excited to report that Madam Manager has joined a women's golf group that I'm in. And she will finally have the time to be joining her daughter Kelly out on the fairways. And I wish you blue skies and sunny days for a lot of great rounds.
Thank you. And now, Madam Manager, I'll put you back in your comfort zone. She just loves to work. She says, I just want to get the work done. I'll pass it over to you for any commentary or priority items.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, esteemed members of the Durham City Council, our community partners, my colleagues, friends, new friends, lifelong friends, and my family. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for this incredible honor of receiving a key to the City of Durham this evening. That was really quite a surprise to me and kind of threw me a little bit off my square, but I get back on it really quickly. So as I prepare to make a few brief remarks this evening, I am filled with humbleness and a deep sense of gratitude. as I have moved closer to retirement, bringing finality to my assignment as Durham City Manager, it hasn't gotten any easier to find ways that feel adequate, to thank you all for your support during my career, and to say goodbye. As you can imagine, this moment, like so many similar over the past 6 months, has been filled with joy and excitement, but always with just a little twist of sadness. Each person here in the chamber tonight, as well as others who may hear these few remarks on YouTube or some of the other channels, you all have really played an important role in my journey, and I am thankful that we have had these experiences together. To my past and present bosses and my mentors, your leadership has inspired me to strive for excellence every day. To my dedicated City of Durham employees, all 2,500 plus of you, it has been a privilege to work alongside you, whether we've shared many years together or just a few days. You all mean the world to me. I see you and remember each day that the City of Durham government and this great community is even greater because of you. Your commitment and passion for our community has made every challenge we face worthwhile and every victory a little sweeter. To my church family, my sorority sisters, my friends, long-term friends, your unwavering support has been a constant source of strength throughout my life. Thank you for being there every step of the way. And finally, to my beloved family, I first acknowledge and remember my late mother, Rosa, the first love of my life, who would be so proud of her firstborn, my father, Joe, my husband, Craig, my son, William, my daughter, Kelly, my sister, Kimberly, my in-laws, and my extended family members. I am speaking to you all right now, and you have been my anchor and my motivation. Your unending love has fueled my passion for service and excellence above reproach, and I am forever grateful. As I embark on this new chapter in my life, I carry with me many lessons learned, friendships gained, and most importantly, the memories made. I will cherish them always. Thank you for being a part of my journey and for making my career in local government for the past 37 years so meaningful. I could not have ever imagined a better work address than 101 City Hall Plaza. As I embark on my new beginning, I leave with great pride of the lasting impact we've made together. Thank you all, and happy holidays. Mr. Mayor, I have no additional priority items.
Thank you so much. Are you rethinking it? Are you gonna, no? No? Okay. I gotta go. All right, at this time, thank you, colleagues, and thank you, staff. At this time, I'll read the consent agenda. I will highlight the items that have been pulled. Item number 1, Mayor's Hispanic Latino Committee appointments. Item number 2, Durham Planning Commission appointment. Item 3, amendment to Master Services Agreement with Paymentus Corporation for electronic bill payments services. Item 4, 2024 General Obligation Bond Referendum has been pulled. Item number 5, NC State Term Contract Hybrid Police Patrol SUVs has been pulled. Item number 6, NC State Term Contract Police Vehicle Upfitting has been pulled. Item number 7, Cooperative Group Purchase Contract Shuttle Buses. Item number 8, Merrick-Moore Park Amenity Upgrades Design Contract with WNS of North Carolina PC. Number 9, First Amendment to the contract with Oracle Elevator Holdco Incorporated for elevator maintenance and repair services. Number 10, agreement to fund Durham Symphony Incorporated for the 2024-2025 Symphony Season Incorporated.
I want to pull that item, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to point out that this is a budget item that passed a few years prior, and I did want to thank you for bringing that forward. That was all.
My pleasure. As a musician myself, which I have a fraternity brother here who's a musician who's just visiting by tonight, this was an item that I knew back in the day, I think under Mayor Bell, the symphony was supported by the city and it brought people together. So that was the motivation behind it. I appreciate you all for still supporting it. Number 11, contract for cultural planning services between the City of Durham and MJR Partners, LLC. Number 12, First Amendment to the 2022 Durham Cultural Roadmap Development Interlocal Cooperate. Let me read that again because I don't want to. That development and redevelopment, 2 different things. Number 12, First Amendment to the 2022 Durham Cultural Roadmap Development Interlocal Cooperation Agreement. Number 14, contract between Hayti Promise Community Development Corporation, City of Durham, and Rebuilding Together of the Triangle for Fayetteville Street Corridor Neighborhood Stabilization Partnership implementation has been pulled. Number 15, contract with Penn Link Limited for Tangle's open source intelligence software as a service platform for Durham Police Department. Number 16, Second Amendment to the scope of services between Duke University and the City of Durham. Number 17, Ms. Peterson, we don't do that. Just give me a second to finish this and then I'll acknowledge you in the report. But just speak with her, she got you. Number 17, Federal Transit Administration compliance updates. Number 20, fiscal year 2024-2025 Transit Capital Improvement Plan CIP Budget Ordinance Amendment. Number 19, GBA, First Amendment to Supplemental Agreement number 3 with WSP USA Incorporated for on-call professional services for Durham Freeway Study. It's been pulled, general business, GBA, and a public hearing on 21 street renaming of Vivian Street. Excited about that. Those are our items. I'll entertain a motion to.
The exceptions of 4, 5, 6, and 14.
Can you turn your mic on?
I'm sorry. Just wanted to confirm with the exceptions of 4, 5, 6, and 14.
And 10.
Madam Manager, you.
Oh, not 10. No.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Madam Clerk, will you please open the vote? There we go. Would you please close the vote, please?
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Did we get? Okay, good. All right, so the first item we have here is number 4. Say again. Yeah, we can knock it out. Well, yeah, let me actually address the GBA one, which was pulled from work session. Number 19, I actually had a question about this. Do we have Aaron Covery here? Or are they online?
This is Sean Egan, Director of Transportation, available. Through the Zoom, Mr. Mayor.
Hey, Sean, you sound really muffled. Could you,
Okay.
could you say something, please?
Is this any clearer now?
Oh, that's much better. Thank you. Just speak closer into the mic. Thank you for being here, Sean. I was hoping it was you. I was not able to be at the last meeting. And I appreciate you and I being able to really, are you there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Oh, okay, it froze. I appreciate us being able to have a really in-depth conversation on this. Well, on the other matter, unfortunately, it was pulled back to staff. However, this was an extension of the 7,000 for language services. And what I wanted to do was just ask, I appreciate us being able to make sure we are having the languages available. Was that not something that we saw needed in the beginning?
So we discussed this at the work session. When we were scoping the project, we were very focused on Spanish translation for the engagement portion of the study. But what we realized as we moved through was that we get to the end of it and we'd be sharing the findings and recommendations from the study, that we had failed to account for the cost of translating all of our summary documents into Spanish. And we have been working a great deal with the Spanish-speaking community throughout this, and we noted that that was an oversight on staff's part, that we didn't include the translation of all of our summary documents and offered this as to make sure that
Sean?
All of the recommendations. Yes.
Director Egan, I'm sorry. You're breaking up. It's quite intermittent.
So when we scoped this originally, is that any clearer?
Say that again.
When we scoped this originally,
okay,
we did not include the translation of the executive summary and recommendations, for all of the reporting coming out of this project. So this is correcting that we made as staff.
Okay, and if you want to turn your camera off, maybe that'll help you come through a bit clearer. How many forms of engagement do we have going on for this study?
So we're concluding the community engagement around the vision and values currently, and we're moving right now into the development of alternatives for consideration by City Council. So that will be as we wrap up over the next month, we'll be wrapping up the engagement on the vision and values portion of it, and then we'll be using the information that we've learned from that vision and values engagement to provide some context for different alternatives and how they would address the needs that we heard throughout the engagement activities. But our focus going into 2025 is on developing alternatives for consideration by City Council.
Gotcha. And how long was this contract again?
Through June of 2025.
All right. So we're at a year. Oh, well, June 2025 will be a year.
It'd be about 18 months total since we started.
All right. So again, I appreciate us having that conversation previously. I wanted to ask a few more questions about this. I'm also asking these questions because it's going to start being a point of focus at how long we spend on engagement, how much we're spending on engagement, and how effective it is. I want to make sure that we are engaging with our community members, but I know also our community members want to see things get done. And what I've been hearing a lot is we have a PhD in engagement and time for engagement and a GED in actually getting the project completed. So I want to make sure that we are tightening up on that, and I'm going to start focusing on that area of how we're actually exhausting these resources. So thank you for the work that has been done on it, and I look forward to talking more about it.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Ooh, okay, go ahead, yeah.
I just wanted to ask Director Egan if he felt like it made sense to move the translation forward without having, I guess, the engagement piece in place or the outreach piece in place, acknowledging those two contracts were in tandem and we're doing one without the other. I'm a little worried that they're going to get disjointed, and I don't know when the contracted end for the contract that was supposed to be extended. And so I just want some feedback.
Certainly. So we believe that we've have some really critical lessons learned and input that we've received through the engagement process that needs to be summarized and will be used to inform the alternatives that we're bringing forward for consideration by the council. We want to make sure that we have the capacity to provide those findings and recommendations and the products of all that engagement. We want to make sure that those are available to share back with the community that's been so generous with their time. And so that's what the Spanish translation enables. It enables us to provide summaries of all of the work that's been done to date on engagement, to use those engagement inputs and then to summarize those. So as we conclude the engagement phase over the next month, this contract amendment will allow us to be able to share back everything that we've learned and the key findings and recommendations that we've learned. So we think that it's a great opportunity to make sure that that information is shared back with the community, both in English and Spanish, and we'll be taking a different approach to engagement going forward and really focusing on that recommendations and alternatives piece so that we can seek input from the council on next steps.
Thank you. I just want to make sure that we're not taking credit for the folks with Be Connected and Idealism's work. And so just acknowledging if you're moving forward without them in that re-engagement or outreach process, being sure to make sure that that credit is applied where it should be for the folks that did put that work together. And that's my main concern. Thank you.
Understood. We are greatly appreciative of all the work and all the support that we've received to date for those engagement efforts. Thank you.
So just a clarification. I know that item was pulled back and it's on the same area. Is that what it's the same area. So are we doing that twice? Are we doing two engagement contracts? And one is doing it with language interpretation and the other not?
The amendment that's on the general business agenda right now is to take the technical materials that WSP is preparing and to make sure that all of those reports are summarized and that Spanish translations of those summaries are available to the public. So that's a need that we were going to have regardless of how we approach engagement over the next phase. We're taking a different approach to engagement. We're going to rely more heavily on our staff resources to complete the remaining engagement activities, but we're committed to the making sure that we're sharing out the information that we've learned over the last year and making those results of all the input that we've received, making sure that those results are shared out. So we'll be working as staff and then with the consultant on those summaries and then making sure that those are available in English and Spanish.
Thank you. I'm glad you explained it that way because that makes my point. If you're relying on staff to deliver the outreach efforts or in the outreach efforts of the practitioner that you hired, it is essentially stealing their work. And so that's a concern as a practitioner myself, if I provide those types of consulting services and then it's off-putting. I don't think it's the appropriate way for us to move forward, especially acknowledging that this is talking about the Hayti community and 147 and essentially I'm not even gonna use that word, but it doesn't feel appropriate to use the same methods that created the problem to actually do the work again. And so I'm concerned on staff feeling comfortable moving forward. It feels almost like how some of that driver's license restoration work, folks were concerned about their work being stolen. It just doesn't feel right. And so I just want to make sure that our staff is clear that they're not, or make it clear that they're not using our community-based practitioners to create the relationships and inroads and then letting them go because we feel like we've spent too much when we're talking about, what, $30,000, $40,000? Like, it's kind of disgusting, but yeah, I have some concerns. I definitely want to have a conversation about what this looks like moving forward, especially in this neighborhood, because I don't want staff to just think they can hire a consultant, figure out how to get in good with folks in the community, and then leave the consultant and then move forward without them. That doesn't feel right. That's all.
Yeah, thank you for that.
And that's not directed at this particular item because this is just the translation.
The practice, yeah.
But I do think that we need to have a further conversation about what that other contract does and how we work with that. If we're not going to do that, there needs to be some offset. That's all.
I totally get you. Yeah. There's a lot there, and I agree with you. So I'm going to support this tonight because the contract, the big chunk of it is already executed. This is an extension to have the translated services. I think what I'm hearing is it appears that there are two of the same types of engagement, or there's something around engagement, and then there's, we have one that's getting into the community, and we have confidence in another coming to do all of this work, and that does cause for pause. So I'll support moving this on with a keen eye on ensuring that this practice is a bit more clear moving forward. And I don't want to project that there's something nefarious going on. I just want to make sure that in government we do have to be, nimble, as best as possible. So, go ahead.
I feel like now I have more questions than I had before. So I just want to make sure, Sean, if you're still on, I know we did talk about this in the work session, and I was just reviewing my notes from that, but now hearing that there is maybe going to be more staff reliance for the presentation, I just want to make sure I'm correct in understanding that this was the original plan and how we were going to present. It was a mistake to forget the translation services, not that this has become necessary because of a change in how the data is going to be presented or how the results are going to be presented. Am I correct in
You're
understanding
correct.
that?
Yeah, it was our intention all along to make the results and recommendations available to the community in English and Spanish. And that's what this $7,000 contract amendment supports, us making those recommendations available. We would have needed that regardless of the approach and the balance that we struck in the alternatives phase of the project. And so that would be, so this really is correcting a staff error that we made in failing to appropriately scope and budget for the summaries and Spanish translation information.
Okay.
That work would have been necessary in any case.
Okay, thank you for that. Yeah, and then I'm gonna want to be clear that obviously the results need to be available to language speakers in both Spanish and English. That is not my concern. It was kind of the way that was delivered it just felt a little weird. I would agree with my colleague. I want to make sure that it's not a change in how the results are being released that is causing the need for this, but it sounds like it's not. So I will also be supporting that tonight. Thank you for answering that question.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I thank my colleagues for their engagement on this item. Every single check that the city of Durham has written to any contractor is cleared. We don't take anything from anybody. We don't steal work. So every check that we've written has cleared. I want to make it clear that if I thought that the city were in any way acting untowards or illegally, that would be a matter of, that would be an issue before this council. I think I'm supporting this contract tonight because and I don't know what's going to become. The staff asked for the other contract to be sent back to them, as they often do, to do further due diligence. So I don't know what's going to become of that, and I'm not going to speculate. But if we did not renew that contract one day more, we've already got a ton of data from the engagement. We have stuff and data points that still need to be interpreted for consumption by our citizens, our residents, us. So I just want to be certain that the pulling back of that other matter does no violence to this contract whatsoever, because there's already plenty of stuff that needs to be interpreted that we've paid for, that we've already had a check issued and cleared. So I don't want the impression to get out that we're somehow hobbling ourselves because that contract's been pulled back. We don't know what the final disposition of that's going to be yet. What we do know is that we've got plenty of data that's sitting that needs to be interpreted and gotten out now. So there's plenty of work to be interpreted and gotten out. So I'm supporting this. I take it at face value. Make mistakes. If the staff forgot to include it at the beginning, okay. But I'm supporting it. I'll take it at face value. But if I thought there was something untoward going on, I'd be the first person calling the staff on the carpet for this. And I want to make sure that we convey that their integrity is intact. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, colleagues. There are no other comments. Thank you, Director. Oh, did you? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, just briefly, I'm fine with this contract. I understand what's happening. I think that this is also just an indicator of how language access can be complicated, right? This engagement was technical, it's transit-oriented. This is not, if you're going to do it right, sometimes these types of things happen. And I'm glad that we are spending city dollars and fulfilling our duty around a language access plan. This is what that calls for. This type of engagement, this type of money spent on language translation and interpretation. Thank you.
Thank you all. All right. Go ahead.
One more comment, yeah. I'd love, perhaps Madam City Attorney may want to correct me on this one, but many of us on the council have worked as consultants. Typically when that happens, you do work for hire, right? So the product you produce, the data you're talking about, Mayor Pro Tem, is for the city, right? So it's not that in any way would be taking this from the consultant. They're essentially doing work for hire. Those works, as they often refer to them in the contract, are works for the city of Durham. It's for us. And so the notion that somehow that we're taking something doesn't make a lot of sense. Am I correct in that, Madam City Attorney?
I'm sorry, Councilmember, can you
The issue of like
question?
when a consultant works for the city, these are often works for hire, often termed in a contract, right? And so that is work done for the city. So the notion that somehow the city is taking something from a consultant, that is work done for the city, right?
That's correct. I mean, if the city is contracted for it, it's paid for the services.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think Councilmember Riss makes my point, and if that's how we're going to engage with our outreach consultants, it's going to be impossible to find consultants. Just noting that, when you're trying to engage with people in the Hispanic community or you're trying to engage with people in the Black community, taking relationships as work for hire is not how that operates. And so I think we need to have a conversation about what that engagement and outreach looks like as a city amongst us, because there's some misunderstanding about actual engagement and how that should operate in community that we love and we trust and we use with community. Like, that's just not appropriate. So I just want to be clear. This is not the same thing as hiring an engineer to do engineering studies. This is actual people in the community doing work with relationships they have, and that's not for sale. That's all. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to authorize the city manager to execute amendment number 1 to the supplemental agreement number 3 with WSP USA Incorporated for the Durham Freeway Study in the amount of $7,025 for a revised total contract amount of $438,825.87.
So moved. Read. Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Madam Clerk, please open the vote. Please close the vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you so much. All right. Going back up to number 4. This was, General Obligation Bond. All right. This item has been pulled by a few folks, and I am going to start with our online speakers first. I have one person online signed up. Shanice, are you there? Shanice Hamilton?
Mr. Mayor, Ms. Shanice is not in the queue.
Okay, thank you. That's the only person I had online. The next person I have, I'll move to in person. The first person, Virginia Workman.
Mr. Mayor, Ms. Workman's in the queue.
How did that happen? She probably was here and left. Okay.
Hi, I signed up to speak and I specifically said I would like to speak virtually. I think there was just a little confusion. I apologize for any resulting confusion.
I think you know how to do magic because I have you signed up physically right here with someone. I guess someone signed you up. Welcome. I'll take you virtually and actually have you sign up on several things. Welcome. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I was initially excited to see the city putting funds towards the much needed sidewalk repairs and the park upgrades and street repaving in East Durham. And then I caught up with my friend Keith, whose home was destroyed by DPD officers instructed to clear Long Meadow Park for construction repairs. He isn't here to speak tonight because he's waiting in the line at the shelter. He and all the other individuals staying in that area are now displaced, without spare clothes, without a tent, a sleeping bag, toiletries, or even a couple treasured belongings, like books, notes from loved ones, or pictures of family. Keith loves books. That's why we're friends. We actually trade books back and forth. Make no mistake, they all had carefully saved and gathered these items, but the police threw them away when they raided their camp. And this is the 3rd time this year Keith has had everything he owns thrown away. The first 2 times are when the forest where he was sheltering was clear cut to make way for 2 different expensive high-rise apartments or condos, I don't know which. This time it was because he was hospitalized for his unmet medical needs while his home was being dismantled in the name of city improvement. I understand these repairs are needed, but I want to ask why we need to punish some to benefit others. How is it ethical to displace and endanger living people as a casualty of infrastructural progress? We need infrastructure to serve the people, not act as a vehicle for gentrification. In the Durham 2023 Community Health Assessment, affordable housing was listed as #1 health priority. Our people are clearly able to name this deficit, so why is this concern not being addressed with the same care that's being given to sidewalks, streets, and parks? As gentrification continues to drive Durham residents from their homes in freezing temperatures, I urge you to consider how much of a difference even $5 million could make in the lives of our displaced people. Like the $5 million being used to purchase and upfit shiny new police vehicles and consent items 5 and 6 perhaps. $5 million is 2.5% of the amount being used to upfit our roads, parks, and sidewalks. But that 2.5% could pay for supportive housing for over 375 unhoused people in a single year. Our infrastructure gets $200 million, but what about the people who utilize these city services who are struggling to stay housed and sheltered? Please do not displace and harm people in the name of so-called progress. I urge you to address Durham's housing crisis and escalating gentrification before more of our own residents are forced to sleep without shelter. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now move to in person. Ripley Thornton. And after Ripley will be Samuel Scarborough and Thomas Crow Albritton. in that order. Welcome, you have 3 minutes.
Hey guys, I'm Ripley. I've never spoken up here before, but I've wanted to for a long time. I work downtown at a restaurant, so I see a lot of homeless people. And I'm really concerned about what these measures are doing to them already when they haven't even really fully started yet. It kind of just like the shelters that Cooke mentioned were sick. That's really cool that they're opening new shelters, but the one that they mentioned specifically is like an hour walk away from downtown. And I think if the shelters were working, we wouldn't have seen such a big increase in like the chronically unhoused population in Durham that we saw from last year, which was 34%. I'm sorry, I'm pretty nervous, but I think that it's really well documented what some of the effects of the beautification of Durham could do to the population that I'm concerned about. I don't need to list off all the statistics for you. I think what I'm asking for is some more consideration of that population. And I think I want Durham to stay kind of like a big banner of progress. I think we are in a lot of ways, and I'm not shitting on that. I think it's really cool, a lot of the things we've done. But those residents are important and they're part of Durham. I care about them. I'm a big sucker. I always give money and food. And they definitely don't deserve to have their stuff taken and valuable memories taken. I'm a very sentimental guy. That would suck if you lost the last belongings you had from people you loved forever. And I also wanted to point out that there are programs all over the world that are trying to address this issue of chronic homelessness, and some of them have been successful, and maybe they fail in some ways and they succeed in others, and I'm begging you to look at those and incorporate them into your programs that usually would displace those people. So thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Hello, my name is Samuel Scarborough. I am a resident of South Side of Durham. I come to you all today as a descendant of the Hayti community.
Yeah, just real quick. So we hear you, but the folks listening online are like, what's happening with the mic? So don't touch it. You're good.
Cool beans. Today I come to you all as a descendant of the historic Hayti community, which I'm still a part of. And I want to bring up some striking similarities, particularly between that development of 147 and then the current bond referendum. I think one of the first things is that the 147 project that was built through my ancestors' community was under the auspices of improving infrastructure, built on a foundation of broken promises to the community that overwhelmingly supported the initiative. And I think, as many have already referenced today, we are still grappling with the legacy of 147, both in terms of the physical destruction of the space and the ways in which city approaches planning and development. And so I find this current situation very similar to the one that my ancestors faced. I, like most of us here, support investing in improvements to infrastructure in East Durham. But I ask this body, will we learn from and confront this system's practice of displacing the most marginalized, or will this city continue to fail them? According to a city report this year, the number of chronically unhoused people in Durham increased by 34%. The number of homeless children increased by 58%, and the number of unhoused families has risen by 31%. These numbers are shameful. These numbers are damnable. And if we do not invest more into supportive housing, if we pass this bond without creating any additional community-led and driven support structure, more people will have no housing. More people will be displaced. The low-wage essential workers who make the city run will not be able to afford to live in East Durham, and this city of medicine will not heal, but instead continue making deeper wounds, like the ones that we have witnessed before. And so tonight, I join many of us here in urging this body to tap into the millions in our rainy day fund to address this crisis, to address this emergency, Using the words of a brother that actually Councilman Middleton mentioned before, El Haj Malik El Shabazz, also known as Malcolm X, we are calling for a collaborative plan to support East Durham's most vulnerable by any means necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next.
Good afternoon, everybody. Evening, afternoon. It's a bit late. My name is Thomas Crawbritton. I am currently an unhoused resident here in Durham. I grew up right down the road in Oxford, North Carolina, but came to Durham all my life. I've seen a lot of changes in this city, both good and bad. I'm very excited for this bond referendum, for the bond. We need new parks, and the plans look beautiful. We need new streets and sidewalks. I want to see Durham grow, but I'm very concerned. Every Sunday, me and a few other folks give out around 100, 125 meals at Long Meadow Park. One Sunday in November, we came and noticed that the medium-sized, relatively large encampment of unhoused people and all the tents were gone at the park. After talking with folks, we learned that on the 12th of November, there was a sweeping by police. The only thing that folks were told was that the park was under investigation. I am worried. I'm very excited to see East End and Long Meadow and Merrick Moore and the new skate rink and everything get the much needed renovations. But as temperatures are now getting below freezing, just this weekend we're looking at temperatures around 22 degrees for 3 days consecutively. I have to ask, as we're actively displacing Durham residents, what are we doing to take care of people? We have the money. It's freezing. I'm lucky enough to sleep in my car. What are we doing for the people who don't have that fortune? Thank you.
Thank you. Those are all of the speakers I have on this item. Okay. All right. The next item I have is number 5. That's pulled. Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. I knew it was something. That's why I was looking around. Y'all didn't look at me to say. All right. So this is item number 4. I'll now entertain a motion to adopt a resolution certifying and declaring the results of the special bond referendum on the bond orders, authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds held for the city of Durham, North Carolina on November 5th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to acknowledge everybody that's come in this evening. As many of you know, I work with folks who are in crisis and potentially going to be unsheltered. That is my job when I'm not sitting on this dais. And unfortunately, a lot of my folks do end up in the community or in our continuum of care. They end up being unhoused in some form or another, sometimes for a short amount of time and sometimes for a long period of time. And I want to acknowledge just that a lot of y'all have come out to speak, and you've spoken really eloquently on things that are really, really complicated, I think. And we're all coming at this sort of from different spaces. And I just want to give an acknowledgement to the fact that we are looking at infrastructure investment in certain communities where this body has not invested previously. And there are a lot of reasons for that, but a big one is race. And we have to really think about and acknowledge that history because it is real. It is the reason why we have seen a lot of these communities go without the nice parks and beautification that we see in other areas of town. Something else that also comes into play that a lot of us talk about is the ability to hold and pass down wealth. And we know through systems that have been racist and have other issues that particularly Black landowners in this city have had their properties devalued and they have not been able to amass and hold wealth in the same way that other communities have. And we just heard from Samuel, who was speaking really well on this, but some of that has been intentional things done by the city that have actually created that barrier to amassing and passing down wealth in the Black community. It does not mean that we get a pass then on doing that infrastructure investment now, right? Like, the answer is not to not do it. It is not to say, well, it hasn't been done, and so therefore we are unable to do it without displacing people, and we can't do it. That's not, of course, the answer, and I think nobody's asking for that, right? Everyone knows that we need those investments, and everybody wants the valuation of things to match the work and care that people have put into holding that wealth, and the want that they have to have their family be secure for generations to come. And I think a lot of us up here want that too. The question is, how do we ensure that the infrastructure development that we do serves the people who live there, and that those people get to remain and use those services? That's a hard question. I think that it's made harder by state laws in North Carolina, and that's something that we have to be really frank about, is what we are able to do with our state legislature and those preemptions, but it's not impossible. And we do have the ability to have creative solutions around this, and so I want to welcome this conversation. I said this at the work session, and I just want to reemphasize again, if we start this process and we see the effects of gentrification, we are already too late. Like, this is the time that we need to really be putting in the safety mechanisms to ensure that those folks get to stay where they are. And I think that there's another piece that y'all brought up really well too, which is this issue of the folks who are unsheltered, and what development means for their safety, and frankly, where our priorities lie in terms of how we spend our budgetary money. That is also an extremely complicated question that involves communication with the county and state and federal money, and it is something that I'm diving into deeper. So I would really welcome folks who want to have this conversation, either about capturing of wealth and ensuring that those that should get that investment are able to get that investment, and also as a related but a kind of also complicated issue, how we ensure that our unsheltered neighbors are cared for in this community and have a safe place to go. Because I knew it as I was saying it, but the white flag shelters, obviously that's not good enough, right? Like, and I think it was Ripley that said it at the beginning, but it's not enough. And I think that we all know that we are falling short of caring for our community in a way that's adequate and really reflects the priorities of the city. So thank you all for speaking. I'm of course going to be supporting the bond because, again, I do think that it went out to the population. It was voted on. It was supported by a majority of people. And also, we're going to be really careful, and I want y'all to keep coming out and holding our feet to the fire on this issue. So thank you so much for coming, and thank you for your hard work so far, and I look forward to working with y'all on creative solutions moving forward. Thank you.
Councilmember Baker.
I'll be brief because Councilmember Cooke put into words many of my thoughts, but I do think that some of the words we heard tonight, and these are not new things that we've heard, are a call to action to follow up on this historic bond, which will do so much great for many neighborhoods that have experienced underinvestment for many decades, and yet are seeing in these neighborhoods and across our city displacement as a result of investments, both public and private. And it's really in the context of a very exploitative national and state levels of government. We have limitations on the kinds of tools that are available to us. I like to say we're trying to build a house with a hairbrush, but we do have zoning, taxes, infrastructure, services, and all of these things influence in one way or another the way that people can live their lives, the quality of neighborhoods, and whether people are pushed out of their neighborhoods or not. And so I think that we need to be very careful with those tools as we move ahead and make sure that we are thinking comprehensively from a geographic standpoint and from a topic standpoint every single time we observe a location within our city that is undergoing or is anticipated to undergo a significant amount of investment, public investment or private investment, because that can be a very good thing. It can drive up land rents, and it can make quality of life much better in those places. It can also kick people out. And so we need to anticipate that. I think some of the tools we have available to us, small area planning, the Unified Development Ordinance rewrite, our ability to invest in social housing and permanent housing, and other tools that I think we need to think about collectively, and so that's going to be important, and I appreciate the call to action that we heard from community members this evening. Thank you.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Madam Clerk, will you please open the vote? Please close the vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you so much. We're now on item number 5. Is Ms. Hamilton in the queue? Okay. So I have Virginia Workman online. Okay. Well, I'll come here in person. Sam Scarborough.
Hello again, this is Samuel Scarborough. Just wanted to raise some points on this. I noticed that this specific consent agenda item is over $3.5 million to police cars. Yet there are still people in this city, as we've just talked about, without adequate housing. Over $3 million to police cars, yet the community's #1 health priority, according to the 2023 Durham Community Health Assessment, is not police, it is affordable housing. Over $3.5 million for 77 police cars. You do the math, that's nearly $50,000 per vehicle on this agenda item. Imagine if we put $50,000 to support 77 unhoused people. Imagine if we devoted this over $3.5 million to supporting young people, like my peer's vision for a new multi-purpose community center, as was seen from the Durham Office on Youth. Imagine if the over $3.5 million went towards raising the pay of the city workers that make this city run. Imagine if we use this over $3.5 million to fund local mutual aid efforts, as we know our social safety nets will be severely damaged or destroyed by the incoming presidential administration. So all I want to do is to leave us tonight and think about how this money could be used differently in community safety efforts that are more evidence-driven, that are more backed by research than policing, and thinking about ways that we can empower ourselves, especially as we weather the storm that is this incoming Trump administration. Thank you.
Thank you. Those are all the speakers that I have for that item. So therefore, I'll entertain a motion to authorize the city manager to execute a contract with Clinton Automotive LLC, DBA Deacon Jones Ford of Clinton, North Carolina, for the purchase of 77 hybrid police patrol SUVs for a total amount of $3,662,325.59.
Moved as read.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Madam Clerk, please open the vote. Please close the vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. And I have item number 6 pulled. Virginia Workman, is she in the queue?
Ms. Workman's not in the queue.
All right. Do I have a Elizabeth Arendt? Oh, just in person, okay. Welcome, you have 3 minutes.
Good evening, council members. My name is Elizabeth Arendt. I'm here to voice my opposition to consent agenda items 5 and 6, which together would devote almost $5 million to purchasing and outfitting 77 new police vehicles. Community safety is a pressing concern for the citizens of Durham. But if we continue to spend our money on law enforcement without addressing the root causes of violent crime, these costs will only continue to spiral out of control without making us any safer. It is unclear to me why we are spending millions for new police vehicles when there are hundreds of Durham citizens who have nowhere to sleep at night. I know that many previous speakers have given some information on this. I know that there was an encampment that was cleared out recently. There are a lot of people who have no place to go. And I know that there are some existing resources, but as we've already discussed, it's just not enough. And as Councilmember Cooke pointed out, it's a very complicated issue, and a lot of people fall through the cracks. So we need more supportive housing. We need warming and cooling centers, especially with the increase in extreme climates during the winter and especially the coming summers. This is a matter of life and death for many of our unhoused citizens. And so I hope that we can put this kind of funding into infrastructure that supports them. We need support for parents, who many of whom are afraid to reach out for help for fear of having their children taken away. This is a very real fear. I've met young mothers in the last few weeks who have had exactly this happen to them, who have reached out for help and had their children taken away as a result. And so that is a real barrier for people and one of the complications that arise. I know this is a complicated issue, but I hope that we can put funding toward this kind of infrastructure and this kind of care instead of toward more policing. Some other speakers have uplifted the Community Health Assessment Survey, which noted that community safety is a top concern. I also want to uplift the East Durham Community Design Project, which found that when it comes to community safety, housing is actually the #1 concern for the East Durham citizens who were surveyed. And finally, I want to refer back to Sam Cooke and remind us that the legendary song that we were honoring today begins, "I was born by the river in a little tent." And the reality is that in Durham, people are living in tents and children are being born into those conditions, and that's something that we have the power to stop. So I would urge you to invest in care for our community and not in further policing. Thank you.
All right, colleagues, we're good? Okay. Normally I would just go straight to the motion, but I want to appreciate everyone who came out and spoke. I know there are a lot of people that are watching, and usually when we speak, that's normally what it's the last thing that we remember. So I wanted to just, as I was kind of doing my research and just looking out, I knew that this was going to be a topic of discussion tonight, and I just wanted to make sure that I provided some context. This council, while considering the issues that we have in this community, it'll never be enough, this council in fact has invested, and we continue to. There was a $95 million housing bond. 10 million of that was for homeless services. We recently contracted with Families Moving Forward to do some outreach, to go out into the encampments and do as much engagement as we can. This city is funding a continuum of care. And while it can still be improved, which is what we're constantly working toward, I do not want it to come off as if we're not doing anything. Is it enough? I know it's not enough, because what wasn't mentioned tonight is there's an organization that actually recruits homeless people and then put them out in the streets of Durham. And it's beyond our control because it's considered a religious institution, and the North Carolina General Assembly does not allow us to address that. So I want to be real honest about what we're doing here. Often what happens at the state level, there is some type of preemption, and then they watch us fight here locally. And they watch us come and make an either-or statement. So I want to make sure I'm very clear. There is no either-or whether we support public safety or homelessness. It has to be both. And I want to state this personally, I'm never going to be okay with someone living in a tent. That's not the housing condition that I want to sustain for someone. I don't want you, sir, to be sustained living in your car. I want to make sure you have resources available so that you don't have to live in your car. That's what we should be talking about. That's what I'm working toward. That's what I know many people on this council is working toward. But I won't tolerate that being the image that we are considered, that we're not doing anything for homelessness. And I know folks are not saying that, and I want to thank you all for coming out who did speak tonight, because what it says is we have people who have their eye on this and that you are passionate about it. But I also want to say we are too. And, you know, there's almost $4 million in grants that's coming through that we're passed through as. The rapid rehousing, we're putting $200,000 there. City's half of the unsheltered coordinating agency contract, $215,000. Coordinated entry diversion, $477,500. Landlord engagement, $150,000. White flag shelter, $190,000. The HUD gives the city $2 million to help support with the continuum of care. We have $300,000 directly to the city for permanent supporting housing. It is not enough. We did just actually help purchase property for more permanent housing, permanent supportive housing. We just took over $240,000 in supported DHA. We have almost $1 million at legal aid. We're literally funding a law firm in the court to support this measure. And we're also supporting an agency to try to help with our public housing. And we're doing that with the federal government who has no idea what the hell is going to happen coming up in January. So our image and our identity will not be that we're not doing anything. We're actually doing a lot beyond what we can actually do. And let me end with this. It's not even our portfolio. There's $18 million in the county right now for housing services expansion. So I appreciate everyone's passion. I appreciate my colleagues' comments. I do want to state for the record, this is a council that is investing in housing. We're doing the best we can. It's not enough. And I think the first step to being able to do this better is we continue to try. And we have to acknowledge that we're doing the best we can. It's not enough, but we also have to be realistic with the conditions that are the forces out there against what we're trying to do. But if we're going to talk about the homeless services, we're not going to, we cannot take down something else. The public voted on a referendum for the parks, and it doesn't mean, oh, you have better parks so you have a bigger homeless issue. It's bigger than that. This is a real size city. So yes, we're going to get parks because guess what? In those communities, those parks have been underinvested for a long time. And we should never be okay with encampments. We want to make sure that those folks have access to the continuum of care so they don't have to sleep in a camp. And that's where we start. So we're going to continue to do this. We're going to continue to put more funding toward it. We'll have an entire housing initiative that's being worked on. Councilmember Caballero is leading that up. We're doing what we can. So I just wanted to put that out there for context, so that those who are listening are not thinking that, oh, the city's not doing it, or they're refusing to support homelessness. You know, like, no, it's not even our portfolio. There are improvements systematically that we do need to work on, that's for sure. You know, and we're going to get there. Trust me, what we're hearing out here, we're saying up here as well. But I'd rather work with everyone to find solutions. rather than, just pretending we're not doing anything. With that being said, I entertain a motion to authorize the city manager to execute a contract with Dana Safety Supply Incorporated of Greensboro, North Carolina for the police upfitting of 77 new police vehicles with police lighting, siren, wiring, etc., for a total amount of $1,217,430.06.
Moved as read.
Second.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, please open the vote.
Readiness. Mr. Mayor, I just want to make sure that we don't leave the conversation as a battle. I think I do want to appreciate folks being here this evening, and I do want to offer that if there is any solutions that you do have, I heard a number of them around, and I was trying to catch them, youth services and unhoused. If you could actually put pen to paper and share that. It is the city council's about to go into the budget cycle, and it would be great to have the actual proposals in front of us that match that $3.7 million. I think that would be a healthy way to move forward, and making sure that we don't just leave it at what's going on right now. And that's all.
So for the record, this is not a battle. I actually agree with what's being said. It's just that we have to work, there has to be conversation, and there's Eliza in the back over there working with Housing HSAC, and they have recommendations coming. There's a housing initiative that Councilmember Caballero is doing. There are many avenues, is what I'm saying, that folks can engage with. This is not a battle. I don't want you all to think that. This is not a us versus you, or it's just not that. This is me appreciating your passion, but also providing context to the overall conversation. So I want to be clear with that I agree with a lot of what you're saying, but there's a lot that's already happening, and I want you to join those efforts. That's what I'm saying. Madam Clerk, please open the vote. Please close the vote. Report out.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. At this time, Ms. Bell, we're coming to you. Good to see you. We are going to take a break for 10 minutes, so we'll resume back at 9:12. Thank you.
The department has a couple of new initiatives that you're using to try to recruit specific applicant types. So let's start with the 30-30 initiative, 30-by-30 initiative. What is the goal of that program, and why is it needed?
So traditionally, law enforcement has been a male-dominated field, and we want to change that. So we're looking to increase those numbers. We're pushing to get 30% more females into the department by the year 2030. By doing this kind of initiative, we're trying to highlight law enforcement for women and try to make it an appealing career move for someone that may not have thought that law enforcement was for them.
How do you attract, say, a high school basketball player who's interested? I mean, what would you say to him about joining the fire department?
So
I'll put you on the spot.
No, high school guys, high school people are, in general, they're easy to target because they're young. So for me, it's always about the money. Hey, when you're 18, you can make $45,000 straight out of high school. I don't know many 18-year-olds that can make $45,000. On top of that, look, you're in a team sport. You want to be part of the team. Continue on that team essence. The fire department is perfect for you. You know, we have that bond. We have that family, that chemistry. We like to play pranks and jokes just like you do when you're on the team. This will be the perfect job for you. So, you know, I just feel like, hey, you may not be able to go to college and play D1 ball, but you can serve your community and still be part of the team and make your impact.
Here's some tips to ensure that your garbage and recycling gets picked up. 1. Your cart should be put out for collection before 6 a.m. on your collection day. 2. Your cart should be at least 3 feet from all other objects such as mailboxes, telephone poles, fire hydrants, trees, and other carts. 3. Your cart should be no more than 3 feet from the curb. 4. No vehicles should be blocking your carts. The mechanical arms on our trucks need direct access to your carts and cannot reach around vehicles. To find more information about garbage and recycling pickups, go to this web address. Owning a home provides a sense of financial stability, family, community, and pride. But housing prices are now higher than ever, making it hard for many Durham residents to afford their first home. That's why the City of Durham is offering the Down Payment Assistance Program to support eligible individuals with up to $80,000 in 0% interest forgivable loans to purchase a house within the city limits. Visit this site or call to find out if you qualify for the program.
I came to the city looking for a new challenge in my career. I stayed for the growth opportunities, work-life balance, and impact my work has on the community. The City of Durham, where careers meet community. To connect with a career that serves the Bull City, visit durhamnc.gov/careers. Vine a la ciudad en busca de un nuevo reto para mi carrera. Me quedé por las oportunidades de crecimiento, el balance entre la vida laboral y el personal y el impacto de mi trabajo en la comunidad. La ciudad de Durham, donde las carreras se encuentran con la comunidad. Para conectarse con una carrera que sirve a la ciudad del Toro, visite durhamnc.gov/careers.
I came to the city to develop leadership and supervisory skills. I stayed because of the city's culture and dedication to serving residents. The City of Durham, where careers meet community. To connect with a career that serves the Bull City, visit durhamnc.gov/careers.
Let's bring it back to order, please.
Loves it. I don't like it because he's, but he loves it.
All right, we have one more item. That was item number, we're back in session. Item number 14 has been pulled by a resident, Victoria Peterson. Ms. Peterson. And be nice to me while you're at the mic.
I hope everyone is doing well. I hope everyone is doing well.
Thank you. You have 3 minutes. Welcome.
I'm Mrs. Peterson, Victoria Peterson. I have not fallen off the bridge or anything like that. Some of you may know, some may not know that I have my husband and I, we have a new addition to our family. And Mr. James is 3 years old today. So I've been pretty busy over the last 3 years. He's been with us since he was 7 days old. So I've been really, really busy and have to really focus on him. So I haven't really been able to get to a lot of the meetings, but I want you to know I have still been involved. I've also have had 2 eye surgeries, so that has also hindered me some ways. But Mr. Mayor and City Council members, I have a concern about this agenda here. I take my son a lot to the W.D. Hill, which is in this area that you folks are talking about developing. And W.D. Hill, and I want everyone in here to know this, if you live close to W.D. Hill Recreation Center, please come down and support that center. It's a beautiful facility inside. They are one of the facilities here in the city where a toddler can come and play, and it's gated around. It's gated, and they stay open until 9 o'clock at night. So I want to share that to let all the city officials know that the W.D. Hill is it's a good center. We need to support it. And the facility that is outside. But here is one of my concerns. Dollars were allotted to that facility several years ago. It's not finished on the outside, the tennis courts, and there's some other things. So I would like to know, these dollars that you're speaking about doing on Fayetteville Street or Fayetteville Road, are you folks going to finish the work that needs to be finished at the W.D. Hill facility? And also that area in front of the health center, Lincoln Health Center, I have actually been down to the city, Mr. Mayor, several times trying to help get that area cleaned up. And I'm not going to beat up on the city employees because I think a lot of them are doing an awesome job. But Mr. Mayor, I have something I want to tell you. You ain't got enough employees. We got to hire some more people who can work these communities. I literally have to stop from working at home to go down to the city numerous times about the potholes, about companies coming in, building new houses, tearing up the roads, and not going back, repaving. If you go on Linwood to Austin, you will see, I'm sorry, is that the bell? Well, anyway, please, I'd like to find out how these dollars are going to be used.
Thank you.
For that street, for the Fayetteville Street area, corner. And thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Mr. Chadwell, could you just kind of give her a briefing, just over to the side? Councilmember Freeman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also wanted to pull this item. It was pulled already, but I wanted to just share. I had heard some questions and some concerns, and I expressed those with City Manager Page and asked her if she would be willing to share how the process will work for these dollars to actually be used for the properties in that area. And so I did want to give her a chance to just spell that out specifically where, and I want to make sure I note that the current oversight is through the Hayti Promise CDC, and they are actually on the city's website, and there's a page dedicated to this project, or these projects, and all the funds that are being directed towards the project. And so I do want to just make sure I share that, and that the board members are listed along with, I don't think photos, but just their names are listed, and that information is out already. And so I do want to just make sure that Manager Page shares exactly how those ARPA/city funds will be used to.
Okay. Thank you. And so this will answer your question, Ms. Peterson. Mr. Chadwell, I'll rescind that request.
There were a number of folks who reached out.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we have entered into a three-party agreement, and staff, please come forward, fill in the details. With Hayti Promise, the City of Durham, as well as rebuilding Triangle.
Correct. So we are requesting to enter into this contract with the partnership through Rebuilding Together of the Triangle, the City of Durham and Neighborhood Improvement Services, as well as the Hayti Promise CDC, Community Promise Corporation. And what was your specific question? Was that in relation to how the funds will specifically be used? Okay. Correct. So I can speak to, in reference to, oh, I'm sorry. I'm Alexis John. I'm the Interim Director of Neighborhood Improvement Services. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, and Council, as well as Ms. Peterson. And I would like to speak on the $1.75 million that are going towards this project. It is through a partnership between those that I mentioned previously. We do have active code enforcement cases on multiple properties in that area, which you have probably seen. And so these dollars would be used to do repairs to the properties, bring them into compliance as much as possible. We will be focusing on vacant properties because we believe that those are the ones that need the most work, and it will take the longest to bring those into compliance. We are looking to partner with the owners of each property as well as the community, because it's going to take us all. And definitely as we are doing those repairs, we'll need people like you that are in the community to help us keep an eye on the properties and make sure that they're safe as well.
And so specifically, I wanted to make sure that we explain how the funds, I guess, essentially the funds are reimbursed. And so the outright start for these properties would come from Rebuild Together?
So the funds are coming from the CDC.
Okay.
And so through this partnership, we as NIS are doing the we're doing the project management portion. Rebuilding Together of the Triangle is actually going to do the repairs, as well as the CDC is providing funding for us to do this.
So the CDC has separate funds that will allow them to pay for the contractors up front, is what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And that's the main thing?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Chadwell, could you he's going to be able to answer all those questions. Mr. Chadwell is going to speak with you and answer all those questions. That way we won't have to shout from the floor. Thank you. It's good to see you.
And that is all I had, Mr. Mayor.
All right, sounds good. That being said, I will now entertain a motion to authorize the city manager to execute a contract with Hayti Promise Community Development Corporation and rebuilding together of the triangle in the amount of $1,750,000 to deliver repairs and services at eligible properties under the partnership.
Moved as read.
Second.
Been moved and properly seconded. Madam Clerk, please open the vote. Please close the vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. And the last item we have for the evening, number 21, street renaming of Vivian Street, which is where I park my car.
Good morning, good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, council members and staff. My name is Jessica Dockery. I'm the senior planning manager, or one of the senior planner managers in the planning department. Staff requests that all planning department testimony and materials presented be made part of the permanent record.
Excuse, I'm sorry, just would you pull the mic towards your mouth? please?
Surely.
Thanks.
Normally my speaking loudly is not a problem. So this street renaming request, SN 2400001, is to change the official name of Vivian Street. The street is shown on the associated street renaming plat that you all had in your packet. The applicant, Kristen Adair, wishes to rename this street to William V. Bill Bell Way in order to honor former Mayor Bill Bell, who was greatly involved in the adjacent Durham Performing Arts Center and the revival of Durham. Vivian Street connects Blackwell Street to the west and South Mangum Street to the east between the DPAC and an undeveloped lot to the south and a commercial parking lot to the north. Section 3.252, street renaming of the UDO, establishes the procedure by which a street can be renamed, requiring that the City Council consider the recommendations of the planning director or designee and of staff agencies, and shall conduct a public hearing where interested parties may be heard on a proposed street renaming. Section 12.3.2, street names of the UDO, applies to both the initial and to the renaming of streets pursuant to Section 3.25, street naming and renaming. Names are established for public and private streets or for driveways that provide access within townhouse developments and for pedestrian malls. The UDO also specifies that street names shall not duplicate nor closely approximate existing street names within the city or county in spelling or pronunciation, and that extensions of existing named streets shall bear the same name. Additional criteria for street names have been established based on street length, width, and other characteristics. This request was submitted to service agencies for review and comment. All substantive comments were addressed during the review of the case. Per city transportation, the estimated cost of sign replacement will be $365, which is to be paid by the city. And an informational meeting about the street renaming request was also held prior to the public hearing for all owners of property fronting along the street. Only one owner attended and no concerns were raised. The street renaming will require that the adjacent properties have new addresses assigned. Staff finds that renaming this street will not adversely affect the general public and will have little to no impact. Staff is available if there are any questions, as is the applicant.
Thank you. You've heard the staff report. Are there any questions to the to staff? Councilmember Caballero.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You said that the city is paying for the street change or the applicant? Because in our memo it says the applicant, but you said the city. So I just wanted clarification on that. I don't actually care one way or the,
I believe that the city is a partial applicant for this.
Okay.
The official person who signed the application is Ms. Adair.
Okay. So it could be either one based on the memo?
I believe that the city is paying for it.
Okay.
That is
Thank
my
you.
understanding.
I appreciate that.
Yes, Councilmember Cooke.
Very, very specific question, but in the actual document, everything is capitalized except for the ILL in bill. I'm just curious, it's not like that on any of our other documents. I'm just curious about why it looks like that.
That's a very good question because I don't remember it being that way when I typed it up.
Well, it does have an edit line and there's like a period after bill.
There should be no punctuation and it will be all capital.
It'll be all
signs.
capital, including the I.
There is a 20-character limit, so That's a rather long name. The way will be smaller at the top if you want the specific design of that sign. The rest will all be the same size, but it'll say way, a smaller font.
That's due to the character limitation, just the size of the street sign, literally.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
This is a bit of a silly question, because I'm very excited to do this. Do we know who Vivian was, or if it was named after a Vivian? Are we going to get any emails from descendants?
I believe it
Vivian?
was one of the street names in the Mill Village that was there, or the smaller Mill Village type houses, and most of those names in that neighborhood, a lot of them were just women's names, so I don't know that it's a Vivian family. It may have just been somebody's wife.
Okay.
I don't know for sure.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I think this is a great way to honor former Mayor Bill Bell. And I actually recall when there was the groundbreaking on the land there to build DPAC, there was like a light sort of, wasn't there a light that like a light thing that like a column that showed up in the, showing up to the heavens or whatever. So I was there at the groundbreaking with Mayor Bell, and it was like, seems like forever ago, but not that long ago. So I think it's a great way to honor Mayor Bell, and I was so glad to have been there when we launched DPAC. It's been such a success, so great project.
All right, at this time, I'll declare the public hearing open. Seems like it's it's been well discussed. I don't have any speakers for this other than the applicant. To the mic. You got to come up. You got to come up. Whom I started my career with, Shepherd Middle School. Welcome. How much time do you think you need?
I only need about 5 seconds. Thank you so very much for doing this for my father. Well deserved, and I just appreciate you all doing this for him. So thank you all.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant? All right. Well, I will say that as a mayor, this is a great honor. Mayor Bell is one of the folks that just simply have not changed since I met him. I remember I was really, really, really intimidated by him when I met him for the first time and I was teaching. And I remember when you were in your classroom, he's like, yeah, my dad's the mayor. I was like, what? Wow. Like, I can't believe that the mayor's daughter is working with me. I was just really fascinated. I had no intentions of being a mayor myself. But I live in this area. I park my car on that street, so I'm looking forward to seeing Bell Street or Bellway.
Long name, but yeah.
Yeah, it will be. I'm interested in hearing Siri on the GPS, so I think I'll put it in. But I'm grateful to be mayor at this time to have this honor before him. And I know if he was here, he'd be like, oh, just hurry up, get it done. Thank you. Thank you for making this happen.
Thank you all.
All right, those are all the speakers I have for this public hearing. So at this time, I declare the public hearing closed and back before council. And if there are no other additional comments, yeah, go ahead.
I want to say, because I grew up in Durham and I was in the 7th grade when Bill Bell became mayor, and so he's what I imagine a mayor always would be. He's what I always saw as the mayor, and that was back when we had newspapers, and so you'd open up the newspaper, it would land on your front porch. You remember that? And he was on the cover so often, and so this is just it's a very special moment to think about this sort of icon that I had, and someone who led me into the interest in civic engagement and civic life, being able to vote to approve street renaming in his honor. It's something that I'm very excited about.
Thank you. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to change the name of Vivian Street to William V. Bill Bell Way.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
And moved and probably seconded by the entire council. Madam Clerk, please open the vote. Please close the vote.
And the motion's unanimous.
Thank you so much. Please send us invites to the celebration.
I will just add that it's not just he was the mayor, he's also a county commissioner, and has been very active in almost every nonprofit in the city, in the county. And I would say he served on numerous boards. This is not just a mayor, so way more. A father, a husband, yeah.
Well, he enjoyed being mayor the most. He enjoyed being mayor the most. This is favoritism, because you're in the people's house of the city of Durham tonight. So, with that being said, colleagues, that is the end of our consent items, but we do have one other very important matter. Published agenda, I'm sorry. We have one other matter that is actually quite significant. This is regarding our closed session, and now we are here to make a motion to appoint William Bowman Bo Ferguson as city manager of the city of Durham. I'll entertain that motion.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Madam Clerk, please open the vote.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to are we doing item 19? We're not doing item 19?
We did that one.
Okay.
Yep. Please close the vote.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. And that will take effect January 1, 2025. All right. And we will have more information on this, I believe, but we needed to make sure we reported out on that vote. So, and we'll have all the other stuff to come with that at the appropriate time. The swearing in, all of those things. You do have big shoes to fill. This has been a process, but I appreciate my colleagues for everything that went with it. But yeah. All right. At this time, we will just.
Sorry, I had my hand up during that, and I didn't vote because I thought we were in the middle of talking. But I just wanted to understand, and I know that it wasn't on the published agenda, so just for the public and for my own understanding, how that motion came to be raised and what necessitated it getting on this agenda. So if you could just clarify that.
Yeah, we definitely had to go ahead and take this action. This is us reporting out from our closed session.
It wasn't published on the agenda, so I thought that
it didn't have to be published, but Madam Attorney, go ahead.
Thank you.
So the council can initiate a motion when it's an open session at any time, and many councils do operate without a published agenda, so it doesn't have to be in print. The council has had a number of closed sessions to discuss Mr. Ferguson's candidacy for the city manager, and at some point, the council has a legal obligation to report out its decision. And so the mayor instructed me to prepare that motion that he just read for the purposes of this meeting. Yeah.
Thanks. I know I was meant to get it beforehand, and just for my own technological issues, did not get it beforehand, so I just wanted to make sure that it was clear, the process, because I just feel like it happened very quickly, so thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr.
Actually, Councilman Freeman had her hand up first. That was your comment? Okay. Middleton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I thank my colleagues. Congratulations, Manager Designate Ferguson. Congratulations to you, Mayor and Council, as well, for this, perhaps one of the most important decisions we can make as a council, probably second to passing of the budget. And congratulations to the citizens of Durham. I do, to Councilmember Cooke's point, per the mayor's directive, I did reach out to each council member while the mayor, His Honor, was traveling to inform each member that this would be coming up and that we would be reporting out of our closed session via text, and I left messages. Councilmember Cooke did indicate to me that she's got issues formatting her voicemail. When she gets it, that voicemail will be on there. So apologies that wasn't, but I don't want council member to think that she was not polled or an attempt was not made to contact her, as I did for each and every council member. And so apologies on that, but thank you. Congratulations.
I also want to just state the reason why I also just kind of made the motion and we took action because it is a personnel matter. So we're really not positioned to have a lot of discussion around that. So this is us pretty much making good publicly what we discussed in closed session.
Thank you. I do want to appreciate Mayor Pro Tem making that note. I do receive, I think I did receive, I didn't receive a call, but whatever. I think the mayor mentioned it earlier this afternoon, but I do think that this process has been kind of a little scurry along. And so I do want to just say that, as I said previously, I think that this has been what it is, and I would have appreciated a more open process where we could have moved a number of candidates forward for consideration. There was a closed session vote of a 4-3 split or 5-2 split, whatever it was, and I do want to make sure that I'm clear, like that is not in any way, shape, or form a slight to interim or whatever the next city manager, Bo Ferguson, and his ability to do the job. I think it's just a matter of the way the process has gone. And so we've got to work on that. And I do want to reiterate that I think we've brought it up a number of times about process and procedures, and also figuring out what it would look like to actually evaluate in a very objective way a city manager, a city attorney, and a city clerk. And so I know that those things have been discussed. They haven't been brought forward, and I want to make sure that I say it. That's all. Thank you.
Gotcha. And just for reference, I have to address it to the public. When discussing personnel matters, we do have to discuss that in closed session. So you won't hear the council discuss personnel matters publicly. There were several options provided to the council, and the council made a choice. It just happened to be the same choice that the county just recently made as well, to make an appointment of talent that is at the top of the totem pole in just about every search firm you can find. So there was a choice made, and we chose that choice. That does not mean that there was something lacking integrity or any of those things. It just simply means that the council took advantage of its prerogative to move forward with one of the options that was provided to us by our professional HR staff. There were other options that we could have gone with if most folks said that's the way they wanted to go. So to not go to option of your preference doesn't mean that there was something lacking integrity. I understand what you're saying, Councilmember Freeman. You wanted another option. That wasn't the option that we went with. And so it wasn't like a smoke-filled room type of decision. It was, we just took an option that majority went with. So with that being said, and I wanted to explain that because, yes, even when I'm looking at it, it's like, it's not good practice to discuss the parameters of the person. So you just need to make that motion, and then we will actually, which is a reflection of the decision that's already been made in closed session. So now we have to make good on that publicly by making a formal vote in open session. And we will also, the contract is public, we'll also talk about all the things that come with that and around that person. And Mr. Ferguson, Deputy City Manager Ferguson, you've been here for some good time. You have big shoes to fill. The council has spoken, and we will put attention to that in the very near future. But tonight's Wanda's night. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to second the comments made by Councilmember Cooke and Councilmember Freeman. Also a little bit surprised. I think we've got a little tech issue because I did end up getting Mayor Pro Tem's message for some reason, and there was a delay. So I had actually texted you back, and then I received the message yesterday for some reason. So I need to take a look at my voicemail. And appreciate the comments that were made, Mr. Mayor, your comments. While I was also one of those folks who was interested from the beginning with a different process. I look forward to working with our new city manager.
Thank you. As one of the folks on this council who's actually done this work professionally, the creation of competency rubrics, worked for a national search firm who's had to hire superintendents, created the objective, quote, objective processes that you do for top-level talent. Often you create a process where there is an individual, you try and put them through their paces. You try and create a process where the person is going to the best of their ability, match the job description. For principals, you might have, quote, an interview with an angry parent or an angry teacher, and you try and simulate the best that you can, but it's a simulation. It's never going to match what that person's going to be able to actually do on the job. And I just want to say very clearly, for the public, for the benefit of the public, one of the scariest days that I have ever been on this council is when we had a massive gas explosion. At the time, the city manager at that time, Bonfield, was out. He was on vacation. And we had acting the DCMs would rotate, and by what it was at the time DCM Bo Ferguson. He was there on that day. Mayor Schul actually had blood on his collar because he had gotten on site so immediately after the gas explosion. And I don't need a simulation because I saw somebody who knows exactly what to do on a very scary day when the community's reeling, when you have chaos, when you have fire engines, when you are in a deep, deep emergency. And so I just want to share that, my experience, and I am very eager and excited to work with our next city manager, who has done an incredible job as a DCM. And I know that we are so lucky in the city that we had such deep talent, that we were able to have City Manager Page, and such deep talent that we have an incredible group of DCMs, and one of them wanted a really, really hard job. So I'm very thankful. It means that we are a very well-run organization. When you have internal talent, that means you've treated your people right. That means they haven't left for other jobs elsewhere. So I just wanted to share that for the benefit of the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Cooke.
I just wanted to clarify my point earlier, which was that though I have expressed frustration with how this process has gone forward, I literally thought we were having a conversation when we took that vote, and my vote would have been different. And so I'm also frustrated that that felt really rushed because we were literally speaking and I had my hand up. So anyway, I'm just frustrated with how that went because I would have liked to have had a yes vote. And I want to also say congratulations. I feel like I came off as very flustered because I was very flustered, and that is not to say that I am not excited about the prospect. I wanted to say my heartfelt congratulations both to the manager who is retiring at the end of the year after an incredible tenure at the city, and to our incoming new manager. But yeah, that was all. I just felt very rushed, and I wish that I had more time to be recognized so that I could have had a vote that I.
Understood. And I want to be very clear. What we just voted on is exactly what I messaged all of you all about. The preferences that I sent you all, are you okay with these things? This is what's going in the contract. That's what we just voted on. It wasn't anything different. And I
think there was a question from us, and the follow-up was missed, that's all. So there wasn't anything to say what was actually agreed on. And so I have no idea at this point what was agreed on, other than we're moving forward if there were any changes. And so it would be great to have that in writing, shared with the entire council.
Yeah, it was sent to you.
Okay.
To everyone. Madam Attorney sent everyone the contract, which was reflective of what you all agreed on in the messages. There was nothing different than what you've already agreed on. We just needed to take a public vote. And tonight we just took that official action, and now we will build up all of the context around it for the public use. And
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to say, as one of the council members, I got the email. Thank you for saying that, along with the city attorney, and the chance to go through those documents. I appreciate that due diligence, and I am 100% excited about our new city manager, Bo Ferguson, and I can't wait to get started working with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank my colleagues for their engagement around this. In my years of public service, I've never found myself in a position to talk about what was discussed. I'll suspend.
Are we good? We ready?
Where I'd have to have a substantive conversation about something that occurred in a closed session, ever, in my public service. But insofar as that it was broached, I will say that it's important that the members, the public, our residents, our neighbors know that the conversation, by my recollection, did not turn on Bo Ferguson. It turned on the process, which I understand, but I want to say I chose the same process that yielded us Wanda Page. And my belief is that each council member brought to this process their best selves, as I always say, integrity and sobriety. And as a person who has lost votes before, who has had things not go the way they wanted it to go, I get it. It sucks. But there's a way to lose, and there's a way to win. This process that we undertook was one of the choices that was available to us as a council. It was not sneaky, it wasn't underhanded. It's the same thing we did when we hired Wanda Page. We chose to appoint, which is within our purview. I respect folk who wanted to go a different way in terms of process. I've lost votes before, but I think on tonight it's important that when we leave this chamber, that the folk in the city understand that of the choices we had, 4 of us, or the majority of us, crossed the threshold to go this way. But and I think it's important for Manager-designate Ferguson to understand that this wasn't about him. This was about some of us wanted to see other things, see other folk, and I get that. But at the end of the day, the council has spoken. We've spoken within the legal parameters in which we're allowed to speak, and I think this is a great night for our city. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you all. Just putting all of this in a nice little wrapping. Yes, we had discussions as a council. We chose the process to appoint. We negotiated on behalf of the council by communicating with council members the terms of the contract, which is now public. The terms of the contract has been agreed upon. That has been placed in the contract. The contract has been signed by Mr. Ferguson, myself, our city clerk, and I can't remember if there were any other signatures, but finance director. And what the contract reflects is what this council agreed upon. The process we chose by majority was to appoint. We did such. We negotiated the contract. The contract is now finished, signed, and we are now reporting out the preference of the council of what we decided in closed session of who. And our process we chose was public, and everyone knows that. We just needed to codify that decision. I did reach out to each of you. I did with those preferences to shape the contract, and just go around one more round, just to give you a final look at the contract. It was sent to your emails, and I did instruct Mayor Pro Tem to reach out to each of you all. I'm sorry there were technical issues, but we do know that tonight was Madam Manager's last meeting, and time is of the essence, so we do need to get this done, which is why we're here now. And it's been codified, and we have no more business on the agenda. And I want to thank you all because we have hired a really, really, really great individual.
Before we wrap up under other matters, I did want to bring a request to get an update on the Wheels Fun Park skate rink or what have you. I've been hearing there's some more delays, and I don't know what's going on, so I just want to make sure that we do get that update. I know that work session is on Thursday, and if it's possible to at least hear from staff on it, that would be phenomenal, because we're going into the holiday, and if it's not open, kids need to know.
Thank you. All right, so there's no more business on the agenda. Thank you all so much. Mr. Ferguson will be we'll be in touch. As we transition to your new role, I want to thank all of our staff, especially our other DCMs. We could have chosen any of them. It would have been perfectly fine. But we now know what the next few weeks will look like, and I would implore you to spend intimate time with Manager Page as we carry out this transition. With that being said, we are adjourned at 9:53. Thank you.